What if you could chat with your Airtable database? Today we are going to build and deploy a lovable application that lets you do just that. We'll build 2 workflows in BuildShip to generate embeddings and query your Airtable database, and then we will use Lovable to generate a website using the BuildShip backend. Let's get started. The first thing we need is an Airtable database. So we have this demo org chart. We are going to take some of these fields, choose to embed them, things like role, responsibilities, and expertise. And then we'll build a BuildShip workflow using the Chat with Airtable template. So there's 2 Chat with Airtables. There's one which just takes the entire Airtable sheet. So if you have a smaller database, this will work. But if you want to use embeddings, we'll use the Chat with Airtable with embeddings. We've cloned that template, and this template comes with 2 workflows. The first one is batch generate embeddings, where we're going to take the fields in the Airtable database that we want and turn them into embeddings and store them in a BuildShip database. So we won't ruin your nice Airtable data. And then in the second workflow, we're going to query those embeddings and let an AI summarize the results for you based on what you've asked. So let's start configuring this first workflow. It takes as input a set of fields and an embeddings collection name. So up here in the test panel, let's edit the fields. We can just click on editor and we can add the specific fields we want. So the first one, let's employee name. Next we'll do role, then department, responsibilities, and expertise. So we've selected the fields with the most rich information that we might want to make a query about. So we ignored things like the email address and the manager ID and assume people are looking for more things like their expertise, their responsibilities. Next, we'll select an embeddings collection name. Let's call this Airtable org chart. So the first step of the workflow is we're going to delete any entries in the Airtable org chart database. This isn't going to touch your Airtable. It's only going to delete the BuildShip database of embeddings so that you can update with any new entries. Then we will go and we'll get the records from Airtable. We're going to need an Airtable API key. We can get that back in Airtable. Come up to your name, Builder Hub, and we'll create a new token. And let's call this one BuildShip Airtable org chart. For scope, let's let it read the records, and I think that's all we really need. And for base, we're going to give it demo org chart. Create that token, copy it, and then we'll come back into BuildShip and click Add Key. And we'll call this org chart. So now that key is saved in this little key here. To enter the base ID and the table ID, we come back into Airtable to our demo org chart, and the base ID is this string here. So it's the app and then all the letters after it until the slash. So we'll enter that. And then the table name is here, starting with TBL until the next slash. In the additional settings are the fields, and that's already taken from the fields input. And those are the fields that we're going to fetch. The next thing we do is a pretty large node which takes all of those fields, creates embeddings, and then adds them as individual records to the BuildShip database that you've specified. And here you're going to have to enter your OpenAI API key. By the time you're doing this, there might be a little key icon up here that lets you use your OpenAI key secret. For now, we'll go to platform.openai.com/API keys, create a new secret key. We'll call this one Airtable org chart, and create the secret key. I'll copy that, and then back in BuildShip, I'll paste in the value. I've pasted in the value. And that should output the IDs of the records that we've stored in the Vector database. So let's go ahead and test that flow. Note that this is going to take a while because it's a lot of records. And now we've gotten our result. It took a couple minutes. For a really large data set, you may need to chunk this up into different pieces. And you can do that by breaking up the list records into multiple pieces and running the store vector embeddings multiple times. So now we can go into our database and just check and see what's going on. So I have a lot of tables here. You hopefully will have less. And we will find the Airtable org chart and set up. This is not a necessary step, so you can skip this unless you really want to see the embeddings. We'll just go through the process of setting up this database. You can just click continue, continue, continue. and finish. So what we have here is our embedding, and that's a long, long list of numbers. Very, very long list of numbers. And then we have the field name and the record ID. So this is the Airtable record ID that we're going to use to reference the Airtable row if we find a match. Back in BuildShip, after that field trip, we'll go to the query Airtable. So in this workflow, we have a query. Let's do something like who is on our customer support team. Our collection name is Airtable org chart, same as the one we built before. Let's just go with the top 5 results. You can make this number whatever you want. And then we can give it a chat ID as well. And what that's going to do is remember the last thing that we asked so that our AI might be able to answer a series of questions instead of just one. So we'll see how all of this is built in. The first step is we generate an embedding from the query in the same format that we have for this database here. We then run that through a vector query to get the closest matches to that embedding. So it's going out into multidimensional space and running a cosine distance measure with a distance threshold of 4.5, and it's returning the top 5 closest results to that query. We then run it through the get record IDs node to get the list of unique record IDs for those top 5, and then we get the specific records from the Airtable database. And here you're going to have to enter your base ID and table ID again. Finally, we use the AI chat, and here you can either enter your own OpenAI API key, or you can use credits, which is a new feature that we have. And that's going to use your BuildShip credits related to the cost of using the OpenAI API, so you don't have to set up your own API key. For the instructions here, we're saying you're an Airtable assistant, and people will ask questions and you need to return responses, and then we give it the Airtable context. And then for the prompt, we just give it the query that the user entered. And we return the response of the OpenAI LLM. Let's test out this flow. It's going to fail the first time because Firestore databases require you to create an index. So all we have to do is click the play button here and then hit create index. This can take some time, so go make yourself a cup of tea. We're back. Let's test our flow. So we have the customer support team includes Raj and Hannah. So let's go back to our org chart and see if that's the case. Where is customer support? Raj and Hannah. It has access to the entire record. We could ask things like, and because it has access to the history and the entire row, it knows the employee ID and manager ID for both of the entries. So that's exciting. We have embedding search integrated into our Airtable database. But how are we going to use this on a day-to-day basis? Let's go ahead and ship these. So we'll set up the API calls, come into the Connect tab and hit Connect. And that's going to generate an API URL with all of the body fields already populated. Click Ship to get this out into the universe. So that's shipped, and we can trigger it by sending a request to this API URL. Now we'll do the same for the batch generate embeddings. We'll go to the Connect tab, click Connect for the REST API call, and let's ship it. So let's make an app that we can send out as a website that lets people use this. So we'll come down here to the prompt for the AI handoff, and we'll come over to Lovable, and we'll just paste that in. Here at the top, it says create an intuitive responsive web app. We're going to do more than just this one. We're going to use both of our API calls. So let's go back to BuildShip and get the query Airtable, come to the Connect tab, usage, and we'll copy this AI handoff prompt as well. Come into Lovable, and we'll paste this one up above the other one that we pasted. And let's edit the instructions a little bit. So create an intuitive responsive web app using the given endpoint and the example inputs and outputs. We're going to update the AI handoff to have outputs soon, but for now it is just inputs. So we have the example of how to use it. So for this one, the query Airtable, we have the sample inputs, and then we can just say, and for the second one, we don't really care about the output. It's just going to be a confirmation. So let's say that. And let's say responsive chatbot. And then for this one down here, let's just update this to be. So we've just, for the second one, add a button to the top of the page, which is used to refresh the data in the background using the given endpoint and example inputs. This might take a long time, so wait up to 5 minutes. And then we have the usage for the batch generate embeddings endpoint. Let's go ahead and see what this does. So let's give it a try. Who is our most cracked developer? So it looks like we tried it. We didn't get a response. Let's go back to BuildShip. We can check the logs. So come down here, click on logs, and click refresh. And it looks like this failed. So it gave a chat ID, but the problem is that we use the default embeddings name collection. So let's just make sure we copy this Airtable org chart, go back to Lovable, and say that the embeddings collection name should be Airtable org chart. So let's try again. And we get another failure. Let's see why. Okay, so this one worked. Let's copy this and just come over to Lovable and say, so we said you got the response as a string but showed an error. Check the last response you've received, and this is the response it received. Let's try that. And let's ask one more time. Great, so let's ask what their manager number to see if we have the persistence. Perfect. So the last thing we're going to try is this refresh embeddings. So we'll come over to the org chart, and let's say that there was a big takeover and Dr. Eliza Quantum is out as CEO. And we have Dr. Mr. Nano coming in. So let's ask, who is CEO? Well, that's interesting. So because we embedded CEO, it's going to get the most updated value of that line. But if we had searched for Dr. Mr. Nano, it would have come up blank. So this shows that if you have small updates to the org chart, it's not really going to change much. But if you have a large update, you're going to want to refresh embeddings. Okay, let's try. Let's change Thomas Schmidt to Underwater Basket Weaver. And let's change Nadia to Sports Team Coach. Now let's ask. Okay, that looks more like it. So now let's refresh the embeddings. And now for fields, we're going to have to come back into BuildShip. Let's copy the fields here and give it to Lovable. So that we don't have to type it in every time. So let's refresh embeddings, and now here are the fields that are going to be passed in. And we will start refresh. Okay, I've come back into BuildShip and checked that we've gotten a success here. We can come back into Lovable and we can ask, who are the basket weavers and coach? And we have the updated values with embeddings. So now if we want to be able to use this, we can publish it. and check it out. Or even do some matching, like who are some good mentor mentee pairs in the dev part. So you can imagine how this could be useful for this use case or many other. So good luck. We're looking forward to seeing what you build.